with the cue ball. Rather than on the bottom, he'd be hitting it on the top. There he is, so he's trying it. Oh, fantastic shot.
Stephen Lee was one of snooker's most naturally gifted players, a former world number 5 and a ranking event winner who had the potential to reach the very top of the sport. However, his career came crashing down in 2013 when he was handed a 12-year ban for match fixing. It was the longest suspension in the history of professional snooker, effectively ending his career. For years, the story seemed simple. Lee was guilty of match fixing, and the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association, WPBSA, punished him accordingly. But over time, cracks started to appear in the case. Many questioned whether Lee had received fair treatment compared to other players accused of similar offences. Did the officials go too far? Was Lee unfairly targeted as an example? Now, with his ban officially over in October 2024, new discussions have emerged about how he was treated, whether he deserved such a harsh punishment, and if he should be allowed to return to professional snooker. The controversy surrounding Lee began in 2008 and 2009, when suspicions were raised about his performances in several matches. The WPBSA launched an investigation into 7 matches from that period, eventually determining that Lee had deliberately manipulated outcomes for financial gain. The ruling concluded that Lee had received payments from a betting syndicate, influencing match results at major events. The Malta Cup, 2008, the UK Championship, 2008, the China Open, 2009, the World Championship, 2009. In 2013, after a long and highly publicised investigation, he was found guilty and banned for 12 years, one of the longest bans in any professional sport for match fixing. The suspension was backdated to October 2012, meaning it officially ended on October 12, 2024, coincidentally his 50th birthday. However, was the punishment excessive? Many in the snooker world believe that, while match fixing is a serious offence, the severity of Lee's punishment was disproportionate compared to similar cases. One of the biggest arguments in Lee's defence is that other players caught in match-fixing scandals received much lighter punishments, or, in some cases, none at all. The most talked-about comparison is John Higgins, a 4-time world champion and one of the sport's biggest names. In 2010, Higgins was caught in an undercover sting by the News of the World, where he and his manager were filmed apparently agreeing to lose frames in non-ranking tournaments for a large sum of money. The footage shocked the snooker world. Higgins, a respected figure in the sport, appeared to agree to throw frames for financial gain. The public reaction was immediate and brutal, with many assuming that Higgins's career was finished. But instead of receiving a lengthy ban like Lee, Higgins was given a 6-month suspension and a £75,000 fine. The WPBSA's reasoning? They concluded that while Higgins had agreed to the proposal, there was no evidence that he had ever actually thrown a frame or engaged in match-fixing before. His defence was that he felt threatened during the sting, and only went along with it to escape an uncomfortable situation. This explanation divided opinion. Many snooker fans and analysts believed Higgins was treated far more leniently than he should have been, especially considering the evidence against him. In contrast, Lee was found guilty without any direct video evidence, yet received a ban that was 24 times longer than Higgins's suspension. This raised serious concerns about double standards in how players were punished. Higgins returned to professional snooker in just 6 months and went on to win multiple world titles. Lee, on the other hand, saw his career completely destroyed, with no real path back to the professional circuit even after his ban ended. Higgins wasn't the only case where a player received less punishment than Lee. Other players who have been investigated for suspicious betting patterns or frame fixing have often escaped with fines or short suspensions. For example, in 2013, Ali Carter was investigated for suspicious betting activity, but after an internal review, no formal charges were brought against him. In 2023, 10 Chinese players were found guilty of match fixing, including Liang Wenbo and Li Hang, who received lifetime bans. But others, such as Zhao Xintong and Yan Bingtao, were given much shorter bans, ranging from 18 months to 5 years. These inconsistencies have led to accusations that the WPBSA targets certain players more aggressively than others, while high-profile or commercially valuable players receive more lenient treatment. Lee's problems didn't end with his suspension. As part of the ruling, he was ordered to pay £125,000 in legal costs to the WPBSA. However, with no income from professional snooker, he struggled to pay the fine. Without a steady income, he turned to coaching and even offered private snooker lessons in China and Thailand to make ends meet. At one point, he was reported to be selling his old snooker equipment just to cover daily expenses. His financial struggles became even more apparent in 2014, when he lost his appeal against the ban. The appeal process drained his resources further, leaving him with little hope of returning to the professional circuit any time soon. Even though his ban has ended, he cannot return to professional snooker until he settles his outstanding legal costs. This means that, unless he finds a way to pay the WPBSA the £125,000 owed, he will remain ineligible to compete. Now that his ban has officially ended, the biggest question is, should Stephen Lee be allowed to return to professional snooker? The WPBSA has made it clear that even though his suspension is over, his return is not automatic. He still has to pay the £125,000 in legal costs, apply for reinstatement through the WPBSA, and gain approval from the snooker governing bodies. Many argue that, since other players involved in match-fixing scandals have been allowed back, there is no reason Lee should be permanently excluded. His talent is undeniable. Before his ban, he was a 5-time ranking event winner, and many believe he still has the ability to compete at a high level. However, the WPBSA is likely to face pressure from sponsors, broadcasters, and other players who might not want Lee to return. Match-fixing is still a sensitive issue in professional snooker, and allowing Lee back could create backlash from those who believe he has already damaged the sport's reputation. As of now, Lee's future in snooker remains uncertain. If he can somehow settle his financial obligations, there is a chance he could make a comeback. However, with the sport more competitive than ever, and with new young players rising through the ranks, returning to the top level will not be easy. There's also the question of whether he even wants to return. After spending more than a decade in exile, he might choose to pursue coaching, exhibition matches, or snooker-related work outside the professional circuit. Regardless of what happens next, one thing is clear. Stephen Lee's case remains one of the most controversial and debated disciplinary actions in snooker history. Was his ban justified, or was he punished too harshly? Should he be given a second chance, or should snooker move on without him? That's it for this video. Why do you think Stephen was treated differently? Let us know in the comments. For more snooker content, click on the screen right now.